The forest moon of Awathel was silent that morning. The twin suns had not yet risen above the purple mountains. The air was thick with mist and the smell of wet earth. Kiratan moved through the giant trees like a shadow. Her blue skin blended perfectly with the darkness between the massive trunks. She was the best hunter of her tribe. No creature had ever escaped her once she picked up its trail. She had been tracking the strange marks in the mud for 3 days now. The footprints were unlike anything she had seen before. They were small and flat. They did not belong to any animal she knew. The elders had spoken of creatures that fell from the sky in burning metal shells. They called them the soft ones because their bodies had no natural armor, no claws, no fangs. The elders said these creatures were weak and died easily in the harsh jungles. Kiratan wanted to see one for herself. She wanted to bring back proof to her people. She imagined the honor she would receive, the songs they would sing about her bravery. She tightened her grip on her hunting spear and continued forward. The trail was getting fresher. She could smell something strange in the air now. It was a scent she did not recognize. It was sharp and unnatural. The trees began to thin ahead. Kiratan slowed her pace and crouched low. Her tail swayed gently behind her for balance. Her large yellow eyes scanned every shadow and every branch. She was close now. She could feel it in her bones. Her heart beat faster with excitement. Then she saw it. In a small clearing, sitting against a fallen tree trunk, was the strangest creature Kiratan had ever seen. It was small compared to her people. Its skin was a pale color, almost like the belly of a dead fish. It had no tail. Its ears were tiny and round. Its body was covered in strange fabrics of different colors. The creature's eyes were closed and its chest moved slowly up and down. It was sleeping. Kiratan smiled. This would be easy. She raised her spear and stepped forward. A twig snapped under her foot. The creature's eyes flew open instantly. The eyes were the first thing that truly disturbed her. They were not the eyes of prey. They were deep and dark and filled with something she could not name. The creature did not scream or try to run. It simply looked at her with those strange eyes. Then it did something that made Kiratan freeze in her tracks. The creature fell to its knees. It lowered its head and pressed its palms together. It spoke in a language she did not understand. Its voice was soft and shaking. It sounded like it was begging, pleading for its life. Kiratan felt a wave of disappointment. The elders were right. These creatures were pathetic. There was no honor in killing something that did not even try to fight. She lowered her spear slightly and studied the creature more closely. It was trembling now. Its eyes were wet with what looked like water. She took another step forward. The creature did not move. It just kept making those soft sounds with its mouth. Kiratan felt almost sorry for it. How did such weak things survive anywhere in the universe? She decided she would make it quick and painless. That was the merciful thing to do. She raised her spear again. That was when she noticed the creature's hands were not pressed together in prayer anymore. They were moving. Its fingers were tapping against a small black device attached to its wrist. The soft begging sound from its mouth had changed. Kiratan realized with growing unease that the creature was no longer looking at the ground. It was looking directly at her. And it was counting. 3, 2, 1. The ground beneath Kiratan's feet exploded. Not with fire, but with something far stranger. A wave of invisible force threw her backward through the air. She crashed against a tree trunk and fell to the ground. Her spear flew from her hand and disappeared into the bushes. Her head was spinning. Her ears were ringing. She tried to stand, but her legs refused to obey. When her vision cleared, she saw the creature standing over her. It was no longer on its knees. It stood tall and straight with its shoulders back. The trembling had stopped completely. The wet eyes were now dry and focused. In its hand was a small metal object that glowed with blue light. The creature spoke again, but this time, the sounds from its mouth were different. They were not soft or shaking. They were calm and clear. A small device near his throat lit up, and suddenly, Kiratan could understand every word. The creature said it was not begging for its own life. It was begging for hers. It was asking the gods of her world to forgive what was about to happen. Kiratan felt true fear for the first time in her life. She tried to reach for her knife, but her arms would not move. Some kind of invisible force was holding her against the tree. The creature stepped closer and crouched down to her level. Its eyes were still strange, but now she saw something different in them. There was no anger, no cruelty. There was something almost like sadness. The creature told her that its name was Marcus Chun. It told her that it came from a world called Earth, a world far away among the stars. It told her that its people had been watching her planet for many years. They knew about her tribe. They knew about the hunters. They knew everything. Marcus explained that he had allowed himself to be tracked. He had left those footprints on purpose. He had wanted to be found, but not because he was weak or lost. He needed to deliver a message, and the message was very important. Something was coming to HFY, something terrible. A fleet of ships from another species was approaching. These beings were not like humans. They were not curious explorers or peaceful scientists. They were harvesters. They moved from world to world, stripping planets of all life and resources. They had destroyed hundreds of civilizations across the galaxy, and now they had turned their attention to this moon. Kiratan did not want to believe it. She thought the creature was lying. She told him that her people were strong. They had survived for thousands of years. They feared nothing. Marcus nodded slowly. He said he knew her people were brave. He said he had watched them hunt the great beasts of the jungle. He had seen their warriors fight with courage and skill. But courage and spears would not stop what was coming. The harvesters had weapons that could burn entire forests in seconds. They had machines that could tear mountains apart. No amount of bravery could fight that. Kiratan felt something cold growing in her chest. She asked Marcus why he was telling her this. Why did he care what happened to her people? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he told her a story. He told her about his own world, about how humans had once been like her people. They had lived in forests and hunted with simple weapons. They had believed they were the center of everything. Then they learned the truth. They discovered they were just one small species on one small planet in an endless universe. That knowledge had terrified them at first, but it had also changed them. They realized they were not alone, and they realized that being alone in the darkness was the worst fate imaginable. Marcus said humans had made many mistakes. They had hurt their own world. They had fought wars against each other. They had almost destroyed themselves more than once. But they had also learned from those mistakes. They had grown stronger, smarter, and they had made a promise. They promised that whenever they found other life in the universe, they would protect it. They would never let another civilization face the darkness alone. Kiratan asked him what he wanted from her. Marcus stood up and deactivated the device that was holding her. The invisible force disappeared, and she slumped forward. He offered her his hand and helped her to her feet. He told her that he needed her to take a message back to her people. He needed her to convince them to trust the humans. A human ship was waiting in orbit above the moon. It carried weapons and technology that could help fight the harvesters. But the humans would not act without permission. They would not interfere in her world unless they were asked. Kiratan thought about everything Marcus had said. She thought about her tribe sitting around their fires, telling stories of their ancestors. She thought about the children playing in the streams. She thought about everything she had sworn to protect. And she realized that her pride meant nothing if everyone she loved was destroyed. She asked Marcus one final question. She asked why he had pretended to be weak. Why he had fallen to his knees and made her think he was afraid. Marcus smiled for the first time. It changed his whole face. He told her that humans had learned a very important lesson over the centuries. They learned that strength was not about appearing powerful. True strength was about knowing when to bend. Sometimes the bravest thing a warrior could do was kneel, because kneeling showed that you valued life more than your own pride. He also admitted something else. He said he needed her to seem as weak first. He needed her to feel superior and in control, because that was the only way she would truly listen when the truth was revealed. If he had shown his power from the beginning, she would have seen him as an enemy, as a threat. She would have fought and died, and the message would never reach her people. Kiratan understood now. She had thought she was the hunter. She had believed she was tracking helpless prey. But Marcus had been hunting her the entire time. He had hunted her with patience and wisdom instead of claws and fangs. And his trap had been perfect. She picked up her spear from the bushes and looked at it for a long moment. Then she looked at the small human standing in front of her. She realized that the elders were wrong about everything. The soft ones were not weak. They were something far more dangerous. They were clever. Kiratan told Marcus she would deliver his message. She would convince her people to accept the human help. But she made him promise one thing in return. When the battle against the harvesters came, she wanted to fight alongside the humans. She wanted to see their strange weapons and their clever tricks. She wanted to learn from them. Marcus agreed. He pressed something on his wrist device, and a beam of light shot up into the sky. He told her that help was coming. He told her that her people would not face the darkness alone. And then he said something that Kiratan would remember for the rest of her life. He said humanity was not afraid of the universe anymore. They had seen its horrors and its wonders. They had faced monsters and marvels beyond imagination. And through it all, they had discovered something beautiful. They discovered that the universe was not empty. It was full of life and story and meaning. And every single life was worth fighting for. Kiratan watched as Marcus disappeared into the forest, moving toward the landing site where his people would arrive. She stood alone in the clearing for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. The twin suns finally rose above the mountains, filling the forest with golden light. Somewhere in the distance, a great beast roared. The jungle was waking up to a new day, and Kiratan knew that nothing would ever be the same again.